March came and went, and lucky for me, I had a large amount of free time to tackle a number of games from my backlog. From critically acclaimed games to cute and cozy indies, and even some new releases. So get comfy and enjoy watching the progress I made on my backlog last month in March. Last month started with me wanting to find a cozy game that I could switch my brain off to and relax with. I happened to find exactly that with Minami Lane. Minami Lane was a game I had been keeping my eye on since first seeing it. A management sim with the cutest graphics. I figured this game would be perfect for me. I even featured it in a previous upcoming Cozy Games video. I genuinely put in games that I want to check out during the year into these videos, so it does feel good when I finally get a chance to play them. The game is short and sweet. An idle management sim would be the best way I can think to describe it. You have a set of objectives to accomplish, and once you do, the next street or lane opens up. Each day you can build one building and upgrade any existing structures. Then residents will come during the day. In order to increase their satisfaction, your shops must sell goods they want. The residents will give hints as to what items they are after via the speech bubbles above their heads. You can even pet cats whilst the day plays out. A really short game, but it is adorable, and I enjoyed creating each street. For me, the only real negative was the length of the game. It is short, like really short. I hope that the devs continue to create games like this and maybe add a DLC with more streets and more shops to build and create. The next game I completed in March was Tchia. Tchia was a game I originally played when it first released, but dropped it soon after without giving it a fair chance. So I'm really thankful that through this challenge I was able to go back and complete this game. At the time it was just what I needed. A cozier story-driven game with beautiful tropical islands to explore. The game's setting is inspired by New Caledonia, an island nation in the Pacific Ocean. As an Australian, I am familiar with the setting, but for those unfamiliar, it sits off the east coast of Australia and is a popular holiday destination for many of us. Another key thing is, as New Caledonia is a French territory, Tchia is fully voiced in French. It is a nice detail referencing the island. Back to the game. The story follows Tchia on her quest to defeat the evil Miavora. The ending of the story was rather ridiculous. I don't want to spoil it, but I will say there is a lot of green liquid. For those that have played the game, they will know what I'm referring to. I did like the final part that showed Tchia after many years. Basically, she was a grandma. It was a sweet ending to a sweet, feel-good game. For me, the best part of the game was being able to control all the wildlife via Tchia's soul jump ability. That doesn't mean it wasn't without its faults. The traversal was painfully slow, especially on the land, unless you used animals to move faster. Once I got the song to summon birds, I was flying all over the place, limited by the amount of energy I had. So again, it slowed the game's pacing, as you often had to traverse large areas between story sections. On the way, there was a number of different things you could do, such as shooting minigames, collecting trinkets, and defeating Mano, the only enemy in the game. And if you do miss anything, you can replay any parts via chapter select in the menu, which is a unique feature. Finally, the game has huge amounts of customization for Tchia and her boat. So it was fun finding chests to see what I could unlock next. Tchia also includes a musical flair to the game that clearly incorporates culture as well. It has lovely backing tracks throughout and many musical moments in the cutscenes. But if this isn't your thing, you can skip all these cutscenes. That said, the animations were all well done with some really moving moments. The world also looked stunning, even if sections such as the ocean are rather empty. Tchia overall is a beautiful game with a deep story. It may not be the greatest game ever made, but it will be a game that many people can enjoy. Personally, the game felt special and I hope more people try it out. Moving on, the next game I finished was Cat and Ghostly Road, an indie point-and-click adventure game, and as the title suggests, you do play it as a cat. The art is gorgeous and the story is serviceable. You are trying to help an artist who had previously saved you from a spirit who attacked him. The game follows this journey to rescue him. I did play this one for review, so if you want to know more, I will link that review in the video description. I love when you all suggest games for me to play or to try. I often find hidden gems that I've never heard of before. One such game that was suggested to me was Protocorgi, a shoot 'em up where you play as a dog. If you have watched my channel enough, you probably know I'm a fan of the genre, in particular the Cotton franchise. I've also played Horgy Hue and Friends for a review previously, and to find out there's another game similar to this, I was really excited to try it out. So as soon as I finished replying to the comment, I immediately logged into the eShop, paid for Protocorgi and downloaded it, and I enjoyed it so much I did finish the game in March. Protocorgi is a retro style pixel art horizontal shoot 'em up with arcade gameplay. You play as Bullet, who is on a quest to save his owner, a brilliant scientist kidnapped by an alien race that wants to rule the galaxy. So you as a flying dog with guns goes on a rescue mission. As you play through the game, more options open up, such as extra retries. This works well because in general I was improving each run, but also the ability to add extra lives or retries enabled me to go even further. So the sense of progression was always there. I also got more and more familiar with the pickups as I played, meaning I could easily identify the upgrades that suited my preferred playstyle as I went on more and more runs. More importantly, the hitboxes in the game felt fair, and the controls were responsive. Those that play games in this genre will know how much of a make or break these things can be. As for the graphics, the art style is cute and fits with a retro aesthetic, but it never felt too overwhelming where I could not tell what was the background and what was something that could damage me if the dog flew over. Protocorgi is just a fun game, and I would recommend it if you like this type of game. Also, keep the game suggestions coming. I know this series is meant to be reducing my backlog of games, but when I get told about hidden gems like Protocorgi, I get so excited. After all the action of Protocorgi, I wanted to move on to something a little calmer. So that game was Snufkin, Melody of Moominvalley. The story is simple. After winter, you return to Moominvalley to find everything is a little out of place and Moomin Troll missing. The story follows Snufkin's journey to find him. What I love most about this game is the art style. It feels like you are journeying through a watercolor painting. It is absolutely stunning. The gameplay is simple. You run around completing quests using one of 3 musical instruments you have. Considering the title has melody in it, I would have thought the soundtrack to be stronger, but this is where the game is actually lacking. It is particularly quiet and soft whilst walking around, with melodies only coming when you play one of your various instruments. As to technical performance, I mostly played in handheld on Nintendo Switch, and aside from the final cutscene, I did not encounter any issues, just some stutter in that final cutscene. Snufkin, Melody of Moominvalley was a charming adventure that ended up on the shorter side. Exploring the beautiful handcrafted world filled me with happiness. It felt like I was getting a warm hug as I played through the game. The game also has subtle messaging about the environment and enjoying being in nature sprinkled throughout. Snufkin, Melody of Moominvalley is a game for those that like cozy and relaxed games that are also simplistic, ones that don't take too much brain power to complete. It also would be good for younger gamers due to the simplistic gameplay. After beating Snufkin, Melody of Moominvalley, I decided to turn my attention to Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Now, I played the original version, and even though there is a remake, I can recommend the original version because it does still hold up well today. This game has you controlling each brother separately using one controller. The older brother by the left joystick and left shoulder button, and the younger brother with the right side. This is both a novel idea, but also at times a frustrating one. Often the characters were walking in different directions as my brain couldn't comprehend what was controlling each character. Another annoying aspect of the controls was in the gripping. When jumping on specific platforms, you had to let go of your grip, then press the shoulder button to re-grip straight away, or you would fall. This also led to some multiple attempts of certain sections. Could just be a skill issue though. I just found myself spending a lot of time thinking about the controller in my hands and the technical aspects of playing the game. In turn, it felt like I was never fully immersed in the world of the game. A shame really, because the ending didn't feel overly impactful. I won't say more as I don't want to spoil it for anyone that is yet to play the game, but it was a little bit disappointing for me that this happened. Although looking beautiful and giving the feeling of being in a fairy tale, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons has some really dark and mature themes, such as bodies hanging above you as you venture through a forest full of wolves, or a giant's graveyard after an apparent war or fight. The whole game just touches heavily on the theme of death, so keep that in mind if you want to play it and are sensitive to those types of themes. Honestly, I am glad I played this game. The uniqueness of the controls and the story as a whole will be something that I won't forget in a hurry, which is something I cannot say about a lot of games. Overall, it is a game that I would recommend trying if you do get the chance to do so. Unicorn Overlord was a game I was excited to play after its release. With strategy games being one of my favourite genres, it definitely appealed to me from the trailers. It also probably comes at no surprise that due to it being a strategy game, I absolutely adored it, having so much fun that I actually didn't play any other games till I fully completed this game, whereas usually I'd be playing 2 or 3 games at the one time. Unicorn Overlord is a real-time strategy game at its core. You set up squads with characters that all have set moves, and then in the skirmishes you move these squads to either attack or defend. For the most part, you win by either capturing your rival's command base or defeating a certain enemy. The lose conditions can change, but usually always include if your own command base is captured. The squad setup reminded me a lot of Final Fantasy XII's Gambit system, but instead of going into battle with a single party, you controlled squad movements. The story is nothing new. You are a prince who escaped before the villain overtook the country. Now you have grown up, it is finally time to reclaim the crown and take back control with the newly formed Liberation Army. I adored how after the game finished, it went through where all the recruitable characters ended up. And there are up to 70 of them, so it is a lot. It was in a style that reminded me of watching a movie based on a true story where they cut to a picture of the person and show a summary of the accomplishments post the main movie event. It was such a nice addition, completely unnecessary, but it felt like a little reward for finishing the game. Now, Unicorn Overlord will be a divisive game. You will either love it or hate it. Thankfully, the free demo is a massive 7 hours, and it is more than enough to know whether or not you will enjoy this game. Especially as the game has no changes halfway through that completely turn it on its head. So what you sign up for from the demo is what you will find throughout the rest of the game. I took about 60 hours to finish everything, including some post-game content. If you like strategy RPGs, I definitely recommend trying out the demo. It is a unique game, but I do hope that more people try it out and see if they like it for themselves. As for me, I definitely really enjoyed this game. It will probably end up as one of my favourite games from this year. The next game on this list is technically not one you can finish, however, I felt like I played everything that it has to offer at present, and I really wanted to talk about it on my channel. With that game being Shashingo, a photography game that helps you learn Japanese. Set in a small section of Tokyo, you roam around taking photos, after which a Polaroid pops up with Japanese word for the item on the bottom, basically creating a flashcard for learning. It is a neat idea. There is also a mode in which a word you have already snapped will show on screen and you must go find that item. Plus, the game also includes a fairly fleshed out overview of basic Japanese phrases. I really enjoyed exploring this little game and refreshing my understanding of Japanese. I just think it is a great tool that can be added into routines for those learning Japanese. Also, this game was developed by a single developer, and I think it has a solid foundation. Now, the drawbacks are that it only has so many items that can be registered via photography, so it is not unlimited in the amount you can learn. Also, the area to explore at present is rather small, so it could be repetitive to go back to day after day. That said, I hope this type of learning concept can be built upon. Just imagine if you could go into the convenience store, grab some items from a shopping list, go to the checkout and actually complete the basic conversation with the cashier that you would be likely to face in person, such as questions of if you need chopsticks or would like a bag. With interactive and fun learning likely to stick more than reading a textbook, I hope the developer can continue to create fun ways to practice Japanese via the video game medium. My final thoughts on Shashingo is that it is a fun concept with a solid foundation. So it is a good way to learn some basic Japanese. It is aimed for beginners, so if you have more advanced understanding, it may be a little too basic for your needs. However, it is still a novel and fun way to refresh understanding of the language. The final game I completed last month was the winner of the community poll, so make sure you subscribe if you don't want to miss these posts. That way you can be involved in deciding one of the games I play each month from my backlog. The winner from March was Granblue Fantasy Relink. After playing through it, the best description I can give is that it is a similar game to Monster Hunter, but for people without friends to play with, or who don't like playing with randoms online. Now, this is not a critique. I myself played numerous hours of Monster Hunter World back on PlayStation 4, so I think this type of game can be really fun. Why I say it is for people who don't have anyone to play with is because you can choose an AI party to go with you on all missions. This is great and fixes my biggest issue with the Monster Hunter games as someone who generally plays games solo and does not want to queue or try to find others online to help me complete these missions. Granblue Fantasy Relink has you play as a Skyfarer who can be male or female, and they are trying to find a legendary island mentioned in a letter from their father. This overarching story almost takes a back seat to the story surrounding one of your companions, Lyria, as she is kidnapped and you have to turn your attention to saving her. During combat, you can play as any of your crew in the fights, each with their own playstyle, such as ranged guns to close combat swords. When an enemy's stun gauge fills up, you can perform a link attack with whoever else is attacking it. You also have Skybound Arts, which are each character's special attacks. If other characters have filled their Skybound Arts meters too, you can trigger a chain attack. On top of this, you could also perform link attacks. The combat is intricate and satisfying. I often went with characters who had faster combat styles and made the game fun, but there are also characters with slower paced attacks, so if you prefer this, that is an option too. One thing with combat that I have to mention is just how incredible some of the boss battles are, and the character designs for these enemies are truly exciting and fun to go against. The world itself is also fun to explore, from the hub towns to the islands you do missions on. These range from grass through fire and ice themes. I found the environmental design fantastic, and it is far more detailed than it needed to be. Even in the first area, there are numerous little paths you can run along to reach the point you are heading towards. They don't change anything except for maybe one or two items to pick up. Regardless of these side paths, the islands for the missions are generally linear and follow the formula of continually moving forward to reach your intended destination. On to the negatives. Maybe there's a large lineup of starting characters, but I found myself unable to truly connect with any Skyfarer. This dampened my experience through the story somewhat, and it just felt lacking in this department. I know there are sections of written dialogue in the Fate that expand the characters' backstories, and yet the delivery medium used wasn't engaging enough for me to care. I mostly just skipped through it for the stat bonuses. That said, one of the stories about reconnecting with a certain character's daughter did grab my attention and felt like something I could relate with. Now, I have a great relationship with my own dad, but it was the most normal of the stories outside of all the fantasy stuff. This, in turn, made the character seem more realistic and relatable. Well, more relatable than a small dragon feeling like they contribute nothing to the team. There was something about Granblue Fantasy Relink that just did not resonate with me, and that is okay. I did like a lot of what was on offer, such as the ability to do all the optional quests with an AI team. However, I couldn't shake the feeling it just was not the game for me. I put this down to my struggle to connect with the characters' stories and motivations. Honestly, looking back after finishing the main story, I cannot really fault anything else. The gameplay is extremely fun, has a great leveling system, a huge variety of playstyles to pick from, and it runs smoothly with pretty graphics. I think a lot of people will have fun with this game. I even still have it installed as there is a lot of content to delve into post the main story. I'm sure I will jump back in from time to time when I get the urge for some fun, fast-paced combat. There you have it, the games I rolled credits on last month. Don't forget to subscribe and vote in the monthly poll. Until next time, bye bye!